Wait till we start recording. Oh, we are recording. Perfect. Trey, what are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on this fucking Savion Vanya fucking blend over here.
Microcosm.
The microcosme. Yeah.
Oh, is that how you have to say it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just assume as much as French. So like, yeah. You're closer to Montreal than I am, so you know how they would say it.
I think technically right now you are closer.
Okay. Yeah, Joe, I saw you sipping on something. What are you sipping on?
Grape Waterloo Seltzer.
Okay.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
my man getting
Banger.
faded. It's purple drink.
Oh, I'm just drinking coffee.
Okay.
How do you take your coffee?
Oh, Zach, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, Drew. Hi.
Hello.
At 7:30, coffee? I mean, I get it.
Yeah. Because I didn't take any pills today, so I'm drinking lots of coffee.
There you go.
So, we'll see. We'll see whether six or seven coffees.
Do the trick.
I'm trying to think about like the rapper whose line that would be, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, it feels like a Danny Brown line, maybe.
I'm always quoting Danny Brown.
I know that's something that's been said about you quite frequently.
Yeah.
actually, Zach.
Yeah.
Or is Danny Brown quoting you, you know?
No, I'm quoting him. It's either Danny Brown or Kitty Pryde.
Well, this is Nersey, the number one Danny Brown fan pod around.
He runs his own podcast. That's impossible. He's obviously a bigger fan of himself than we are of him.
Yeah, but no, that's just a podcast he does. This is like a podcast that is only about how we're Danny Brown Fanny Browns. I'm Danny Brown fan Drew.
Danny Downs. Yeah.
Joined by Danny Brown fan Trey, Danny Brown fan Slava, and we are produced by Danny Brown fan Steel Tip Dove, and with a bonus engineering assist from Danny Brown Yuri Beats. And
love Danny Brown.
he loves Danny Brown. And we are joined today by a man who many have called the number one Danny Brown scholar in the world. And the only reason we're doing this episode definitely has nothing to do with the fact that Vice just imploded. Zachary Lipez of Cream Magazine. Everybody give him a round of applause.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you.
Can you spell cream real quick for people who don't know?
Yeah, it's a CREEM.
There we go.
Yeah. America's only rock and roll magazine.
Honestly, at this point, maybe America's only magazine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We could actually we may shorten it. That's a good idea. Thank you, Drew.
So of the five people on this call, only three of them set up their own microphones.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
My
because
microphone works
Nersey,
just fine. I got a pro. Like it's fine. Yeah.
Nersey is getting more and more professionalized by the day.
We're about to get bought out by Condé Nast, bro. I can't wait.
I hope so.
Oh, and then I'll get laid off in like 6 weeks. Like
You'll have to lay yourself off.
That's like the new stage of the acqui-hire is the aqua layoff.
Yo, Drew, these are good agency tips. This is all paywalled stuff because you can't be giving this stuff out for free.
True. So yeah.
Drew is part of the reason it becomes like herself like 3.0.
Oh my God. Yes.
And somehow puts like Time magazine into the fucking dirt. Like, yeah.
Yes. Is in fact my newest life coaching client. And we got a lot of, we're working on her now. Before we were working on how to like completely fuck Vice up. And I think we made a lot of progress together on that.
Dude, I love how all the NDAs just went out the window this week and like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you whose problem this fucking is, and it's not me or yours or this person who I work with who's the best for what they ever did. Her name rhymes with a hoary kayak, and
That's somehow worse than the actual name.
Yeah. No, I mean, Vice.
I wasn't paying attention to all of it. Do you have people decided that there's one villain in the Vice story?
Yeah, I mean, there's like in reality, there's a lot of villains.
There's Dancy Kubak or whatever her name was, and
Yep.
yeah.
Can I
New book, yeah.
Maybe this can be for the listeners as well. What did each of you do at Vice? Either because I'm the only one here who did not work for Vice, but I think Zach, did you as well?
I
For
was
Vice? Can we go through?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Let's go through and see what each of you did for Vice. Slava.
Yeah, what didn't I do for Vice? Yeah, I was social media. I was video production. I was an on-camera host. I ended up in sales meetings here and there, man. Like, yeah,
So Trey, did you?
I was there like later than Drew and Slava were. Like, Zach, you weren't full time ever, right?
I was always a freelancer, and I think I was one of the earliest columnists when Noisy started, and I know that when Drew sort of took over as my editor, he asked me to do a little bit more, and I was like, well, I can, but I don't really feel comfortable doing that for $50 an article. And he was like, what the fuck? No, we're gonna pay you more than $50 an article, because I was very late to writing about music, so I didn't know. Anyway.
So you were a freelance writer about music, Trey. Were you hired? You were freelance, Trey. Were you hired by them? Were you?
I was Slava was
employee
actually my first editor when I did freelance, and then I got hired like 2016. Yeah.
So you both worked directly for the company, both as freelance and as employees, Slava and Trey. What about you, Drew?
So the chain continues because I was hired by Noisy as their like third editorial employee a little bit after Zach started writing for them. And I was Slava's first editor. And I ended up helping Slava get his job, which I would like to say that's like my main contribution to Vice. Is like
you unknowingly begetted a cocaine smuggling ring.
Exactly. And I didn't get a cut, which is, now that I look back on it, kind of fucked. Also, Yuri, who is now plugged in. Yuri, did you ever work for Vice?
Never got a check from Vice.
That's not the same as not working for Vice.
Never had the pleasure either way. I'm sure I got fucked up at a Vice function once or twice, but that's the extent of it.
Well,
if you did at least $75 worth of cocaine, you kindly got paid for Vice if you wrote a like, yeah.
Possible.
Yeah.
I'll also say that Yuri created content that was written up by Vice multiple times. Notably a viral remix of Father John, Misty, and Drake, or a mashup rather. If you've ever heard that, that is...
When I pull up on a nigga, tell that nigga bad back. I'm too good with these words, watch a nigga backtrack. If I die, all I know is I'm a motherfucking legend.
Drew, I guarantee you nobody's fucking ever heard that, but thank you.
I've heard it.
Oh, shit.
Can I just say, this is the most windows we've ever had on a fucking podcast real quick. We have 6 windows going on. We have the sex windows going on right now.
All right, I won't interrupt again. I just thought it would be, before you guys get going about this company, I wanted to make sure I knew, at least, and the listeners, what your roles were.
I mean, I
worked on more verticals than everybody here combined at this company.
Yes. I think between us, if we're counting Zach, we have like 15, 20 years of like Vice experiences.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Wow.
more than that, maybe. Like combined, like how long were you there?
Oh no, I meant like chronologically, like Zach and I
Oh
saw
yeah,
it.
oh yeah.
That's right. That is kind
Yeah.
of like what I was going to say when Joe asked that question is Drew introduced me to the company and I introduced Trey, and then Trey saw it all the way to its downfall. Like all the good last pieces of content were
Oh
like
no, I got out before the downfall. I was there
right
during
there. Yeah.
I was there during the bad old days and then the badder old days. The badder new days. And then now we're looking at the worst new days. And
No, now it's over.
now it's just like, yeah.
Well,
story
one
gets
thing,
It's like it's not my pig, it's not my farm anymore. It's just like there's no pig, there's no farm, there's no grass, no sunshine.
one thing I want to ask
Yeah.
Zach is like, I feel like even though you never technically worked there, you were just like, you're like Vice, you're hipster emeritus, and you've been around.
Thank you.
You've been around the scene for so long that I feel like you have like more institutional knowledge of Vice than anyone else.
Well, as far as that might even be taken as a compliment, thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
calling me old. Yeah.
I'm old, and I always want to be very clear when talking about things like this. I was always very peripheral, you know. Even before I was a freelancer, you know, I was whatever 23, 24, 25 when Vice started taking over Brooklyn, and so I was going to all those parties and all that sort of thing, and being very much what I was as a 23-year-old, like really wanting to be, wanting to be popular or wanting to fit in or wanting to be
Cool.
to succeed in as a musician or this, that, and the other thing. I immediately had that same sort of love-hate relationship with Vice that I think a lot of social strivers had, which is on one level, I was like, this is gross. And on another level, well, why aren't I in it?
Yeah.
You know? And so I was friendly with various higher ups and various writers, and some of whom I'm more proud of having been friends with than others. And but yeah, so I mean, I was always kind of like going in and out, and either alternately being like fuck Vice or how do I get on the list?
How many do's and don'ts have you personally known? Like people who were in the magazine as do's and don'ts.
Definitely I had roommates that were dues, you know, just because certainly as like a little mod kid, you know.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much all my friends wore suits all the time, and we were, you know, one of the things that Vice did for good or ill was really to destroy the sort of Murder City Devils aesthetic. Like they kind of I think Gavin and Sarouche specifically hated that kind of like rockabilly black tattoo, like prison tattoo sort of thing. And luckily, I wore button-down shirts and suit jackets that cover up my terrible wannabe Murder City Devil tattoos. So, and because I was friends with lots of and roommates with men and women who also dressed up, you know, some of them, they usually were dues, you know?
Yeah. Can I ask real quick? Are you wearing a blazer with like the sleeves rolled up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, not a blazer. It's a cardigan.
Real quick, like no joke. Can I ask you how you do that? Because like all the blazers,
No.
It's buttons are sewn in, and it's like
it's not a blazer. It's a cardigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's pretty easy.
Fair.
Yeah. No. I I've never done the rolled up cardigan. I mean, rolled up blazer. I was definitely.
I don't know how people do that, man. Like I've never worn an actual blazer where you're just like, oh, there's 3 buttons at the end. I could just unbutton these. Like, no, they're all in there. Like,
yeah, no, I don't think that really works. Like, I think you need to be going for a very specific, like Miami Vice sort of thing to roll up your blazer sleeves. And,
okay.
Or Mark Ronson.
Or Mark Ronson, sure.
Mark Ronson,
yeah, if you want to use a reference that's not 50 years old.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, like, okay. So another thing is like, I don't know. Zach, as the arbiter of all media, when you were around at this time, were you like, did it seem like Vice was like, we want to blow up, sell out, and then implode? Or was it just like what was the vibe at the time?
I mean, at the time, it really, it was hard to imagine it registering on that sort of level. You know, it didn't, even though maybe you intellectually knew that it was built to scale, or is that the right word? Built to, expand.
Yeah.
It was,
Right. Yeah.
it seemed so niche, and, they were also had like 90s zine writers writing for them. They had Lisa Crystal Carver. They had a lot of people like that. And it seemed like a much more marketable version of edgy zines, which is why it's always seemed strange to me when people like sort of credit it for inventing again, for good or ill, this kind of aesthetic, when really it was just a very glossy version of a certain type of 90s zine. To me, and again, it's coming at it from, well, that's what I was reading when I was 16. So maybe that's just my framing for everything. But
no. I mean,
no, so is it like Vice was like, now that's what I call zines 24, and you're used to like volume 8.
That's actually a really good way of putting it, I think, because it touched on like the really more grotesque stuff like Answer Me, which, you had like the issue and stuff like that. But it was more of just the kind of like lifestyle things with that, because it celebrated, noise music, and it basically flattened things out so that like the most abrasive basement noise band was sort of perceived as the same way as, models doing electroclash or this, that, and the other thing. It was all kind of just anything vaguely counterculture thrown against the wall. And I think people forget, like, because people associate it so much with hipster racism and like this sort of like really gnarly irony, they forget that what was appealing to it was that it wasn't that ironic in a lot of ways. It was super earnest in the way that it was earnest, I guess, which is hard to sort of explain, but it was very much like it was very much like an ethos like that Lisa Crystal Carver sort of set forth in like Roller Derby, which is life is for living. Isn't this exciting? We are going to dress ridiculous and listen to the most obnoxious music, and we love disco. There were certain things that I still kind of stand by that I think were really cool about Vice initially.
And like, I don't know, I feel like back in the day, just also a lot of people just wrote like that. Like there was this dude in Chapel Hill named Mark Prindle who was like a music writer. And I don't think he ever wrote for Vice, but he was like very like 90s music blog culture, like pre-music blog, I guess. And he just had that like sort of acidic, acerbic, like, I'm just going to say extremely insane things about every musical act, whether it's like, fucking Lightning Bolt or Wu-Tang. Lightning Bolt wasn't around then, but yeah.
Where were Vice magazines available where you guys lived? Like
American Apparel.
American Apparel, and every single person I knew was a part.
Yeah, they were free. They were free at American Apparel, or you just had to like snatch one off of somebody who grabbed 7 from American Apparel.
Yeah.
Yeah, tattoo shops. I was gonna say too were big for them.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
They were free, but like that's back when they had like fucking 7 employees, and all that ad money was enough, and they were like, let's be dickheads and make this bigger.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember, but like there was a big scandal when they were trying to go public about them working with tobacco brands. So they were like trying to clean up their image around that.
Dude, that's fine. Okay, it's fucking Vice. Like
It's just funny
if
how,
anybody's
like-
gonna work with Joe Camel, like it should be Vice. Like, yeah. Like, let's be real. They could have put Joe Camel in like some fucking like Kith shit, and it would have been sick as hell. Okay, like, and we will all still have jobs.
But also, like, a lot of bands that I think probably would not love to like revisit this. A lot of great bands were playing camel shows. We're playing, like they had camel girls at shows handing out camel dollars that you would go in and trade in for cigarettes, and that was lots of like good ostensibly punk or counterculture bands shilling for the tobacco industry.
So what you're saying is it was like the House of Vans.
It was House of Vans, but it was
The House of Camel.
It was Camel. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if you got
if there's like a cigarette brand you're gonna show for, like Joe Camel was objectively the coolest. Like I remember seeing a tweet a few months ago where it was like, if you look at like all the old Joe Camel shit, this was kind of like pen and pixel adjacent. And yeah.
Yo, where do camels live? Like, where do they sleep? Like in
The
caves
desert?
and stuff?
Where they want, man. They're big as hell.
Yeah. Also, they sleep on their backs.
They're like
Really
the moose. They're the moose of the fucking Sahara, man. Like a lion's not going to take one down super easy.
Vice
There's
was
lions in the
undeniably
desert.
cool when
Sorry.
I first moved to Brooklyn.
It takes like three camels to take down a. Yeah, 3 camels to fight like 2 lions, dude. Like, yeah.
All right. Order in the court. Joe was saying something. Also,
What did I say that was wrong? No, what did I say that was wrong?
We've been talking about camels for too long. And we've got a backlog of people trying to say stuff from Zach and Joe.
I was just saying Vice was undeniably cool. Started in 94. I was living in Brooklyn, in the mid 2000s. And Zach's right. There was no way to think that it would be a television network at a certain point. Like there was just, you could, it didn't feel that way. It felt like it would always be just some plateaued, but man, oh man. Yeah,
and there were naysayers like right from the very beginning, and a lot of that, a lot of the naysaying that didn't come from people that were just clearly bummed that they weren't in it, or that garage rock bands that they were shilling for Camel instead of Chesterfield Kings, but there were people, writers for Punk Planet or Maximum Rock and Roll or other existent zines who were like, this is clearly bullshit. What is wrong with you people? So it's and weirdly, I think a lot of the early Vice writers would have loved to have the approval of some of those people, whether they would ever admit it, because they certainly came from similar backgrounds of going to crust punk shows or hardcore shows or this, that, and the other thing. And, there was sort of as much as I think one of the early things that they got in trouble with was some I don't know, I don't remember if it was like Bratmobile or Tiger Trap or some Riot Girl band being like, this sucks, but like, and they made fun of the band, but they still very much wanted the band in Vice, so I think there was always more insecurity than I think maybe history remembers.
I mean, I think in general, Vice, not a great track record with women. There's a very infamous.
That's one way of putting it. That is definitely a way of putting it.
Yeah. Or I'm just thinking in like terms of how their coverage treated women. Like there's a very infamous interview that might have to bleep this, but did with the rapper Murs, where Murs was hitting on her in the interview, and whoever was editing it changed the text of her answers to sound like she was like flirting back with him.
Crazy.
Not very nice.
You can say who was editing it, man. There are no more NDAs.
Oh, I don't know who was editing it. I just didn't want to know if like the person who wrote it would be amped that I'm bringing up this like random piece of ephemera that was like embarrassing for them.
I mean, that's part of the history though, and like that's part of the fucked up history of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like Vice started fucked up and ended fucked up.
Zach, sort of what were like the most Vice things of like the scene? Or like to what degree was the scene like, yeah, what was like the most Vice stuff going on?
I mean, the thing is because my focus was music and it goes back into that sort of love-hate sort of thing where on one level I was like, this is bullshit. But on one level, and especially in retrospect, I almost some of it I appreciate more, you know, like a band like Airy Weapons, which is kind of a punchline in a certain way now. But at the time it was like, well, this is, you know, garbage. This is just like, you know, model shit, or this is just, you know, this is because Vice likes them. As though that was some sort of departure from New York hipster culture. You know, like
yeah.
But of course, it feels that way when you're in your 20s and trying to do your own thing. And now when I listen to their stuff, I'm like, oh, this is fun. You know, this is whatever. Like, I don't know why this is a punchline, but Andrew WK is not a punchline, or this. You know, I still to this day, no matter how old I get, I will never quite grasp how like the tastemakers or whatever decide two things that sound nearly identical to my ears. One is, you know, authentic
it's
or
about
inauthentic.
who did the most cocaine with you. Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean that is. I mean that's even gets and that gets into
really the big one. That's really the big one.
And that raises a really good point too, because
you kind of put up in that one piece that we'll bring up a little later, but like,
yeah, right. Well, just even briefly, like one thing that Vice was openly doing, which was, you know, trading, you know, social capital for cocaine and this, that, and the other thing. All the music sites were doing it and had been doing it for decades, you know, but Vice was one of the first to be like, yeah, we're doing that, you know, like, and I think when I think of like really like pure Vice stuff, I think of, I mean, I think of like just the people who died along the way, you know, not to be a bum out, but, you know, I just think of like, you know, people like Dash Snow who didn't make it through, you know, and it's just because that was even more than New York subculture or any urban subculture stuff. Vice really was romanticizing and elevating. You should not take care of yourself. That's a good idea. You should physically and emotionally and spiritually not take care of yourself, because to do so is to be, you know, square as all hell.
Yeah, it makes you a don't.
It makes you a don't.
Yeah. Oh no, hold. What are you talking about? Unmute real quick.
That Vice launched a virtual version of the Lower East Side. Like, I think it was around one of the initial big raises, but it was like an early metaverse where you could like go to like different spots and do cocaine virtually in these environments.
And see Chromio virtually.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea about this.
This is incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. When was that?
I feel like it was right around the time where they got the first big chunk of money. I'm going to do a Google search on this to make sure I'm not making it up. But I'm like fairly positive this happened because I was like living on Avenue A at the time and was like particularly like troubled and wanted to like go.
Are you sure you weren't? That wasn't just like a night that you had that you were like.
No, this is. I'm fairly certain this is real, but I'm going to see if I can find anything online on it.
They weren't just like sending people to Papaya Dog to do cocaine. It was like very.
Oh my God, I'm deeply disturbed by this.
When did they get their influx of money? Does anyone know? Like, when did it really cross over? Like I said, the television network started in 2016.
It was probably around. It was probably once they got that private equity money.
No, it was like 2008, Joe. I'd say, like I would say around there because Vice. I came into Vice through a 4chan link. Like that's how I heard about Vice originally.
What?
I watched a Vice video because someone posted it to 4chan because I was like a 14-year-old shithead on 4chan. And that was like, and I saw Shane's, yeah, thank you. And I saw Shane Smith smuggling guns in Algeria. And I was like, oh my God, representation in media. This is a guy that looks like me doing something cool.
Were you bald when you were 14?
18. But I knew I was getting there at like 14. People were calling me bald in high school.
Oh, that's not a good place to be, especially like when you
Let's
don't
not focus
have
on that.
tattoos.
That's how you know you have some evil in your heart. You weren't bald that early, man.
I was born really close to Chernobyl, actually.
Damn.
Like actually.
Like
So I hope you
literally
feel
or
bad.
figuratively?
Like literally. The radiation.
Yeah.
No, not because of the radiation was born close to my
Chernobyl
body.
in your heart. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, were any of you at the Vice Turns 20 party? Because I know I was, and let's read some of the people that performed.
Oh my
Like
God.
Lil Wayne.
Little Wayne.
Little Wayne was one of them. Yeah. Anybody else remember anyone else?
I get them all confused. Which was the one that Jarvis Cocker was?
I'm so mad.
That was also Jarvis Cocker.
That was Jarvis Cocker.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was at
there.
that one.
Okay. Does anybody remember seeing a Scarlett Johansson perform?
What the fuck did she perform?
Oh, she had an album that Dave Sitek from TV on the Radio produced. How do I know that?
Bizarre
right.
Love Triangles.
Jonah
Jonah
Hill.
Hill. You guys
fucking
remember?
losers.
Do you remember seeing Jonah Hill perform Marvin's Room?
What?
Wait,
Dream was there? Oh my God.
Did he say the N-word?
That's all he said.
Happy Black History Month.
Chromeo, that tracks. Chromeo, honestly, there was a Chromeo joke earlier. I like Chromeo. Good band. Also very nice. Yeah.
Steven
A-Track's brother.
this checks out.
Yeah, Malcolmus. That one's for like the C-suite guys who are a little older.
Yo, I love how they had Lil Wayne on the bill and still had Andrew WK immediately after. Like,
This is like the most jarring list of performers. Like,
it's the most jarring set list I've ever seen, man. How do you have like Lil Wayne on this list? And what was this, like 2000?
This was like 10 years ago, bro.
It was right after his rate went down a little bit.
2014, this article dropped.
Okay, so that was sort of like a temporary nadir. Jarvis Cocker sang "The Power of Love."
Mm-hmm. And if the kids are united, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty.
This
I think I kind of like checked out for the rest of the stuff. I think I was probably waiting in line for a drink or the bathroom for the rest of the time.
This concert marked like the start of Vice TV, right? Like Viceland. But there was a time before that, which I think Zach is speaking to really well, where it was like they got the money from like, I don't know, Rupert Murdoch or whatever.
It was Canada. Look, $4 million Canadian investor in 1996.
Well, that's the interesting thing about it too, is like all Canadians, they started in Canada, then got big by going to the States, and then when they expanded everywhere but Canada. Like the UK was like a really big selling feature for them. It was like we're big in London.
Oh, this is just like a dude who owns like 4 brownstones in Greenpoint.
Yeah, he probably has like 10 Tim Hortons franchises in Northern Ontario.
Yeah, I was in Montreal last year, and people are still like have this weird shame about, Gavin and Vice. Well, I guess it's not weird. I guess they have an appropriate shame about about
Well,
getting advice,
you-
but it's still like a very raw.
Oh, how long have we been going for?
long enough for it to be free and for us to get mean.
I think before we go to the paid only version, we got to talk to Zach about his piece about Pitchfork, because that is the reason we asked him on.
Which is awesome.
It was an incredible piece, dude.
When
Thank
people
you.
ask me what books I've read recently,
It's like the most, it's one of the most nuanced things about like just kind of culture media that I've read in a very, very long time.
I really
And it's
appreciate
mean.
that.
Yeah.
You're a good hater. You're an ethical hater, Zach.
Thank you.
But listen to the Nersey Guide to Ethical Hating, dropping soon.
I look forward to that. Yeah, I'm genuinely gratified to hear that, because I can't tell. It's one of those things that like some people clearly have seem to enjoy, or that it resonated with, but also, it hasn't. I'm not going to pretend it's been like massively shared, or at least publicly shared, by.
Well, I retweeted the shit out of that, man.
Well, I appreciate that. But I mean, like, for understandable reasons, there are certain, online personality writer types that, I mean, maybe they just possibly just didn't read it, or didn't like it, or whatever. But also, I took note of people that I would have liked to have shared it or responded to it, and who did not.
Like Adam22, for example.
Like
What?
The most influential music critic of our generation.
I'm sorry, DJ Academics did not like your article.
Yeah, I know. And he was.
It's called The Goop Hits the Grinch. How can anyone?
The reason these two read it is because I dropped it in the group chat and I was like, this is an incredible headline.
Thank you. Well,
the Grinch. Yeah.
It took a lot of, and I think that's a better headline. I'm glad I went with it. It took a lot of self-control and understanding that I would be shooting myself in the foot. But originally I was going to call it Pitchfork's 9.11.
Oh my god,
that's so much better.
I know, but it's maybe if it's ever collected.
Well, now that I know that,
yeah,
that's what this episode is called now.
Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to do it, but
we can bring ourselves to do it. Don't you fucking worry. Don't you worry about that. That headline will live somewhere.
Go with God.
I do feel I need to, now that we have been effusive in our praise, I must hold you to account on behalf of my good friend Jeremy Larson.
Mm-hmm.
Why you gotta do Jeremy like that?
Well, that's the thing. The thing is, I actually I like Jeremy Larson, and he was a great editor. And I wonder, I used him by name in it.
In your sign up sheet,
mainly because I kind of thought he could take it more than like other writers that maybe did it, which maybe was fair, maybe it was unfair. I mean, he also is the face of, he's the high. I think he's the highest editor still there. But I definitely I didn't get much pushback, but I did. Certainly, the pushback I did get was more on a personal level of like, either why was I unkind to Jeremy, or why didn't I mention the other people? And I was like, well, I don't think the other people want to be mentioned, which I may have been wrong about. But
I actually think it's fine. I was just teasing you.
Okay, because that's the thing. Because I certainly don't think I say anything unkind about Jeremy. And I think, but he is in the first paragraph as as one of
you're aiming high. You aimed high. Okay.
I mean, you can't. Here's the thing, also, and that's the thing I think that is just common with a lot of this stuff.
I don't know Jeremy for shit, so I don't care about his feelings. No offense.
Right. Well,
no offense to you, Jeremy, if you're listening to this, but like, you made more money than I ever did in media. So like,
And that's the thing. I think people
you could take
don't
a paycheck. You could take a joke. Okay.
and I think people are really averse to like saying people's name. Like, and that's why I think music media writing or music culture writing has always suffered next to almost every other form of like culture writing. Whereas there used to be, certainly critics would talk about other critics and they would like badmouth them or praise them. And it wasn't, of course, people weren't pretending, oh, this isn't personal. Sometimes it was personal, but sometimes people would remain friends and still critique each other. And I think they don't really do that.
Zach, could you do us a favor and name the names of people who are afraid to name names?
This is behind the paywall officially. This is where we cut off the paywall.
Well, everybody, this is the end of the free part of Nersey. Like and subscribe to get to the paid part and stuff, and then we will see you in a minute.
All right.
Bye.
Editor's note from Joe here. A very serious conversation went down in the Nersey group chat, and it was universally decided that this episode was so good it should be made free and not put behind the paywall. So enjoy.
Zach, say all the names.
Say the name, Zach.
Here's the thing, though. Well, and that's
also,
the thing.
also, no, real quick. Also, this paid episode costs double.
Well, this is gonna be anticlimactic because the thing is, a lot of it, like a lot of the things I even say, and there's so much of it is like weird, like supposition and just guess, but I can't help but feel that whether it was, whatever Gawker writer who I named, I don't even know the names of half those people, but like people that like write about media all the time and talk about media, or whether it's like, the other bigger rock critics like Steve Hyden or anything like that, I can't imagine they didn't have an opinion about this, even if it was in the negative, but I do. And this is where it gets into like weird self-aggrandizing conspiratorial stuff. Like, did people not even talk shit about it because they didn't want to give me like any credit or a leg up or promote my piece, which is fair because I talk a lot of shit. I've burned a lot of bridges. I can't like begrudge any of these people like not wanting to like help my career.
So you wouldn't have burned down a well-built bridge. You seem like the type of person who could be like, oh no, people need to use this. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. I also don't think it's like a vicious piece of writing.
No.
I think it's mean by the standards of contemporary like music media writing. It's not mean by like the standards of like your average like culture writing and even fucking like New York Magazine.
So
oh my God, New York Magazine.
One thing I've learned about like burn bridges in my old enough age or whatever is that like it's not necessarily the person who said something who has burned the bridge. Sometimes the person who you said something about is like, nah, I'm putting a torch to this myself. I don't give a fuck. So yeah, burn bridges is a weird fucking metaphor or whatever, or like saying or like whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's true, and I do think that like I do think it's so quickly like slides into like I said, like just being self-aggrandizing. Like for all I know, various people at whether it's whether it's at Hellgate, which I love, or ex-Gawker people, or any of the people that talk about media, it's also possible they were like, dude, we didn't fucking read your newsletter. Like why would we have read that?
Impossible.
Impossible. Yeah, thank you. It's definitely a conspiracy against me.
Yeah. I think that's
also they read this. They all read that shit. They're just like very, very.
Well, I think. Well, here's one thing.
Like they didn't read that shit.
I think there's also a party line, an understandable party line, where if you sort of imply that maybe unions, as they stand right now in the music media, are not accomplishing this thing that they're like their one function, which is to keep people employed and to protect their rights. If you sort of even go in that direction, all of a sudden, I mean, it's the same way that like there's not a lot of nuance in a lot of things because you don't want to be on the side of fucking,
it's fine. This is the paid part of the episode.
Yeah, well, I will say the thing about music,
It's just our parents.
music media unions or like media unions in general and shit. I think a lot of people saw this happening, what's going on right now. And it's like, yo, once this shit falls into the ground, let's make sure the people who were doing this, number one, get compensated okay for like just having their entire lives swept under them, like their life's work. Because like, I'm not the only person. Like, yo, I think I'm about to go to trade school, try to be a Slava.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, like I really don't know what to do at this point. Like,
honestly,
I'm interviewing to be like sales reps at a couple places, but like, there's no fucking way I will ever go back in the media as like a full-time job. Because
I think I come at it from a different perspective than a lot of my peers in that I didn't start writing about music until I failed as a musician, and I was a bartender for 25 years and I loved being a bartender, and I was proud, like not even like, oh, I had a side job like as an office thing. I did just the thing that like, in some people's minds only kids are supposed to be doing, like I was essentially a waiter, but I was a bartender, and I only stopped doing that like 2 years ago. Like I that to me is like a cool thing to do.
Yeah, you're also underplaying how good.
What was your breaking point?
With bartending. Oh, my dad died, and I just was gonna fucking be really. I was getting to be really. Basically, I was gonna flip out for the next person that ordered a JMO. I couldn't, and then I was gonna just take a few months off and sort of get my head straight, and then I realized, oh, my feet don't hurt quite as much as they did for 20 years.
Nice.
Maybe I should try to figure something else out.
Can I ask, would you say, Drew, Trey, and Slava, you came into working for Vice after, there's a before and after, I think with both Vice and Pitchfork, that they were underground entities and then completely mainstream entities, right? So like there's a before and after for both of those. Did you, Zach, you were part of Vice before that, but were you guys part of Vice after like they had a lot of money, like, Noisy had a big budget, right? Like, a weird question.
Noisy Video had a big budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it actually, let me stop now.
Okay, I'm gonna get my James Murphy on here. I was there. You've
been keeping that in your pocket for a while.
Yes, I absolutely I have. The first Friday I was hired by Vice basically because I was freelancing a bunch for Noisy and doing so many $50 blog posts that it actually was cheaper to hire me on $2,000 a month and just have me come in the office. And they had also just bought the downstairs of their old building on like North 11th or whatever it was.
Okay,
and,
so
I got more. And the first Friday I was there.
Shit, Drew.
All right. The first Friday I was there, I and everyone else in the office get an email being like, hey, at 5 p.m., there will be pizza and beer in like the storage room. You all will get a beer, grab a couple slices of pizza, and be at your desk with this pizza and beer at 5:30. Absolutely no reason why. And so we
startup culture.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn.
That's why.
Yeah, it's my first job out of college. I'm like, damn, what a cool place to work.
Yep.
And then 5:30 happens, 5:45 rolls around. Shane Smith is giving Rupert Murdoch a tour of the Vice office. And
so fucking
cool. Oh wait.
Yep.
Oh wait.
Yep. And
so y'all all sat there like with 2 slices of cheese or a cheese and pepperoni and a Coke and just sat there in silence. Yeah.
Well, no, first off, it was Tecate.
Okay.
And I think it might have been from Best Pizza, which is a bit of a consolation. But yeah, we were like the props for
Incredible.
this illusion that Shane Smith was weaving for Rupert Murdoch.
Get into TV.
So he told Rupert Murdoch, he was like, look, all you gotta do is give them some bread and some cheese and some beef. They'll do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You point at one of them and tell them to get butt naked, they will.
Yeah.
Were you at that party
Yeah.
for advertisers where like Shane Smith gave the speech lying down and was like singing along to again, if the kids are united?
Oh my God, no.
Oh God, dude, we gotta do like we really have to develop like some kind of like Abbott Elementary or The Office type show just about like a media company in fucking 2015, man. Yeah.
Jesus
Could we make it
Christ.
with AI?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. I don't give a fuck at this point.
Yeah, the
Also,
one
no.
class of people more sympathetic than public school teachers.
I'm down.
You're like Brooklyn media workers. It's gonna be the ratings will be through the roof.
Another
For the wrong reasons, but they will be.
Oh yeah. Okay, fair enough.
And then we can transfer over to Toronto, and then like,
Well,
it's like
speaking of Canada,
you what, mate? Yeah.
yeah, it'll
Drew,
be
real
like
quick,
that
yeah.
show. It'll be like that one show where they trace like the path of a brick of cocaine throughout the world. And our show would also have that thanks to Slava. But anyways, sorry.
Do you know Gary? That's actually El Chapo. He just had a fake mustache on the whole time.
So just to tack on to Drew's story of when you joined Vice, when it became popular, the first person I met at the Vice office was Justin Trudeau, who was doing a tour before he became Prime Minister of Canada because he wanted the youth vote. So he went to the one place that represented the youth at the time, which was Vice.
Complex?
No, but Complex didn't exist yet.
No, Complex existed, but like they just didn't post as many photos of Emily Ratajkowski, so like you didn't see them on Instagram as much.
Right.
That's fair. No, I mean in Canada specifically. Yeah.
Y'all didn't know who
incredible.
Emily Ratajkowski was until like 2019. So yeah.
Bro, Vice is
The mother?
pre-Instagram. All this is pre-Instagram.
Yes.
What year was that, Drew, that you were there?
That was 2012. And it was weird. Like they ended up buying more of the building and then even more of the building. And then at some point an office in LA opened. I ended up moving to LA and working there for a year. The only time I talked with Shane Smith one-on-one, I complained to him about the lack of parking for employees. And he said, oh yeah, we're going to solve that. I'm talking to an artist guy. We're going to give him a bunch of money to put in an inverted golden pyramid in the parking lot. And I was like,
God damn, that guy's so cool, dude. Like, who comes up with shit like that just on the fly? Respect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The only interaction I ever had with Shane Smith was I saw him in the office a couple of times and he made eye contact with me and looked away and was like, okay. And then he followed me on Twitter. And then one day, I tweeted something and Larry Fitzmaurice was like, yo, if I ever see Shane Smith, I'm gonna like punch him in his asshole. And I was just like, bruh, come on. And then Shane Smith unfollowed me. So like immediately after, yeah. That's my experience with Shane Smith. He can't take a joke about him getting punched in the asshole when he has like a fucking climate control wine cellar.
He has his own island, bro.
None of those dudes really like famously had senses of humor about themselves. But
except Gavin.
No, I don't think Gavin's ever told the joke in his life, man.
That's the thing.
Gavin actually, he right before he got banned from, right before he actually got rid of his own Twitter account, one of his last tweets was at me.
What?
Saying, yep. I had written a thing for, I think Jezebel had like for like a week had like a music vertical, and I did a thing about how here's some things you can listen to instead of whatever Nazi band. I mean, it was very, very, very like a 2016, 2017 type piece, and not one of my finest pieces of work, but he retweeted it and he was like, this reads like a girl wrote it. And
what a loser! What a fucking loser, man!
And I don't think he knew that he had known me. And I wrote him and I just tweeted back. I was like, "Hey, all of your friends are embarrassed for you. Your wife hates you. Go drink a bottle of vodka by yourself until you like piss your pants and like fall asleep," which is all things. And he deleted the tweet, and then like soon after his.
So you're the reason the Proud Boys are a thing.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Okay. Sorry. Cool. Yeah, no, but it was this was all happening like while I was like at an Ice Age show. So my terminal hipsterdom is really outdoing
Good God,
itself.
Man.
Yeah.
The irony of all of this happening at an Ice Age show is not lost upon me.
Yeah, and I think it was like a private Ice Age show.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's even worse, dude.
Yeah, I was taking it to the hoop, as they say.
Wait, what are we scrolling through right now?
This is the
Vice Media
Saudi
Wiki.
Arabia Wikipedia article.
So here was the 2013 that Drew was talking about. Rupert Murdoch acquiring. He dropped 70 mil, but then fast forward.
And Bill Maher, by the way, Bill Maher was also heavily involved in that.
He put in.
Investment.
He produced.
He's not listed in the wiki.
More like Pittsburgh.
Oh, he is. He was listed.
Yeah, in the part right there.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
The part you highlighted.
He was an EP. He was an EP. That ain't shit.
Yeah,
as a total digression of just how bad the subculture as a whole has flubbed it. You guys know that the current Bill Maher theme song is performed by Green Day.
What?
Yes, I do.
Just FYI.
But Green Day's allowing that?
They wrote it. They wrote a theme song for it. They did the theme song for it.
That's actually my sleeper of the week, Zach. Thanks for stepping on that.
Oh my God! All right, so
you just ruined my Black History Month.
So who would win in a fight, Vice or Pitchfork?
Vice.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing with the thing that I like, the thing with Pitchfork, and I talk about this in the article, is
Vice had Trevor.
They did a lot of things that Vice did, but they it's like the whole it all goes to shit right when everybody starts calling, like, instead of calling like things a scene, they start calling it a community. And that kind of gives free reign to like things like Pitchfork to sort of operate like any other industry media thing and still pull the same shit, be just as shady, but they like slather it in sort of like DIY speechifying. And obviously like they were not as like evil as Vice was, because Vice was actually like that was part of the thing. Yeah, right.
Every music critic from across the country into Chicago for a weekend seems pretty evil to me. Chicago does not deserve that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Chicago's a great city that did not deserve that. Yeah.
Well, I guess being evil was never part of Pitchfork's brand.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
What about what they did to fucking
Donald Glover?
Travis? No, he deserved that one. Travis from D-Plan.
Just my one, yeah, right. No, I mean that's also what I'm going to talk about in the thing. Like, people forget back when Pitchfork was relevant. I mean, Vice. The number of
time Craig Jenkins gave Migos a good score, and it just like hung around his like fucking head for 2 years until everybody actually liked Migos.
Who did that?
Craig Jenkins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gave Young Rich Niggas like fucking like a 7.8, and people were furious. Furious.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I badmouth Pitchfork, like I almost sort of forget like people like Craig Jenkins or Mark Masters, who I really like, who's like writing I really, 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 really like, and I actually forget that they write for it. And then I'm like, oh, why are these people that I really like mad at me? because I badmouth this thing that was super important to them, but it's mainly because I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. I just forgot you.
It's weird how people's interactions with the companies are so different in those ways, because people are almost like ashamed of being associated with Vice, but they're very proud of being associated with Pitchfork.
Right.
I mean, I do like in your piece, Zach, you say that the only thing better than an all-out pan in terms of like hoping for like your enemy's downfall, preying upon your enemy's downfall as a musician, is when your enemy musician gets like a 6.5 to 6.9.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, this, what do you do with that? Like, it doesn't matter how many people tell you, like, oh, it's like a B-. You're like, I feel like shit. This sucks.
B- is not going to get you into a top school.
Yeah, it's not going to get you a top school, and no one's going to fight. No one's going to feel like.
Yeah, your guidance counselor is going to be like, bro, get your shit together.
Yeah, you're just kind of bad at this.
Yeah,
I will say it matters for people if it's their first time. They're gonna feel psyched, even if it's a 6.8 or 6.7.
Oh, real? See that
first time, but if you keep getting like 6.7,
yeah, then it's gonna be like, all right, well, stop reviewing me then.
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, you don't like my shit that much, man. Just like, let me have my fans, bro. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's where it gets into stuff that I never have any evidence for or anything like that, where you're kind of like, I believe, and I will always believe until proven differently that certain, publicists, certain labels were given preferential treatment by Pitchfork. Like, I believe that. I've certainly have enough anecdotal evidence.
Like people, my concert gets sold out. Just like, let me sum out my concerts without like people thinking too hard about this,
Bro, Pitchfork could have been called biz3.com. The fuck?
Also, Life or Death P Fork.
It's wait, what's that?
Oh,
yeah,
Heathcliff, the disgraced Heathcliff
right, yeah,
shit.
I mean, and it's
callback.
And that's the thing. I think it's when you think of like Vice stories versus Pitchfork stories, there actually aren't as many stories like that for Vice, partially because music was not their main focus. And they were more interested in hard news, even from a certain point on. So it's like that joke about why like battles in academia are so fraught and so like tense because the stakes are so low.
I love that joke.
And so because I can remember just about every single infraction Pitchfork ever did, but it's really about fucking music criticism. Whereas Vice, I'm sure, did horrible things, but I don't, for whatever reason, that doesn't bother me as much, which I guess is between me and God.
The New York Times just ran a profile of Tom Sandoval, who's on a reality TV show that I don't watch.
Oh, the one who
What do you
thinks
mean
he's
you
like
don't watch
O.J.
it?
Simpson and George Floyd?
Yes. He
Yeah,
compares himself.
Dude.
Yes.
Dude,
Shut the fuck
Tom
up.
Sandoval is
Tom
out.
Sandoval.
Okay, as somebody who watches a lot of Bravo, Tom Sandoval is out of his fucking mind.
Oh, yeah. No, the whole
I used to think
Vanderpump
they were
Rules
like,
is
I used to
amazing.
think it was like, okay, he cheated on his like girl or whatever. Like, he's right. It is kind of crazy that they're going there. But then he said that shit. And I was like, oh no, like I'm glad everybody's on your fucking ass, bro.
That's amazing. What interview was he doing? Was he like just on?
He was doing like a New York Mag interview or something, like New York Times interview or something.
Yeah.
It was something everybody was gonna read.
Woo.
And like,
It wasn't like Interview Mag where they like had like him interviewing like himself or some shit or whatever.
Yeah. No.
Actually doing some self-reflection. Like, yeah, no.
I mean, to be like the bigger villain than like Jax on Vanderpump Rules is that takes some work. Yes, I watch Vanderpump Rules. It's fucking
that's
good.
great. I'm
And
glad.
like honestly, man, like I feel bad for Tom Schwartz because he's like, how the fuck I get involved in this? Is like because you have
Who the
shitty
fuck are these people?
fucking judgment and people. Yeah, it's like, yeah, man. Yeah, Schwartzy is actually kind of cool.
I tried to actually.
Did you see him on Winter House?
No, no.
Oh, you got to watch you some Winter
I gotta
House.
watch it. Okay, we'll watch it. I
Yeah, you
actually
gotta
tried to
watch
get
Winter House.
for Zora, my wife's birthday. I got her. I tried to get her a cameo birthday message from Lisa Vanderpump, but she apparently she didn't have the time. So fuck them. Yeah.
Oh, so you're like, did you lose $600?
No. They returned the money.
Okay, cool.
Wait, how much is she charging for a cameo?
$250.
That's
That's
reasonable.
not bad at all. That's
Yeah.
not bad at all for Lisa Vanderpump.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to get like you can just hire the Trapaholics guy to say whatever and he'll do it. And I keep meaning to like hit him up about Nersey. Yuri, have you ever used the Trapaholics guy?
Yeah, I've actually used the guy from Halo. But he does a great damn where did you get that, son? So he hits all the
It's the one time I ever did that is my girlfriend at the time. She was a big JoJo fan, and I was like interviewing JoJo, and I was like, "Hey JoJo, could you just like please?"
No, it's nice.
I was like, "I know this is weird, but my girlfriend loves you. Like, can you just do like a quick thing?"
No, I think that's
I did a selfie video with me and JoJo. Like, maybe we'll drop that for paid. And then I also dropped my girlfriend at the time's reaction to it without her consent.
I
She didn't
actually
really
have
say anything. She just looked like very like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Which, in case anybody wants a boyfriend, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I have an IRL cameo style story from my Vice time, actually, which is like, this is probably 2013. J. Cole comes in for an interview.
Get the fuck out of here! Anybody
Tomato.
North Carolina shield. North Carolina flag shield.
Well, like worst Carolina.
Shield is just a
Yeah,
roof.
okay,
It's just a
yeah.
roof that people hang out on.
Boo!
I cast local pride shield.
All 59 other states, including Puerto Rico and Guam and American Samoa, are throwing tomatoes at you. Like,
That's fine.
fuck off.
That's fine. We've got the Star Wars tomato defense system installed.
So, are you saying you have an Iron Dome?
No, I'm not going to use that term.
That's what you're describing right now is the Iron Dome.
No, I'm describing Star Wars, the thing that Reagan imagined.
Yeah.
So even worse. Okay.
And I was just thinking, like, why is everybody mad at the shoe guy?
But
All right, go on. Yeah.
regardless, he's coming in for an interview. That's fine. That's fine. You boo all you want.
I will.
My intern at the time was this kid named Martin. Shouts out Martin.
Really?
Yes, it was
Boo,
Martin.
Martin. Boo, you suck, Martin. Boo.
Martin's favorite rapper was J. Cole. You go ahead and do it if you have to, Trey.
No, I'm saving my booze. Like
Okay.
I realize like I've kind of like I gotta save them for the rest of the story.
All right. Well, no, this story will redeem J. Cole as a person. So
Really joked that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Martin is running late. He has not emailed me to inform me that he is running late. And his favorite rapper again is J. Cole. J. Cole and I.
So to punish him for running late, you make him beat J. Cole.
Well, J. Cole and I are in a conference room, and I see Martin finally come in at like 11:30, and I'm like, oh fuck, finally Martin's here. And he's like, who's that? I was like, oh, it's my intern. You're actually his favorite rapper. And I was like, do you want to fuck with him by like coming up to him and being like, yo, Martin, why are you fucking late? And he was like, absolutely. And so he goes up to my intern and is just like, Martin, I heard you were late. And Martin's like, oh my God, like freaking out.
Martin should not have got that reward for being late. Yeah, you're a bad boss. Boo. Boo, J. Cole. Boo. Boo.
Yeah, you know what, Trey? That's an ethical way to hate on that story. Fuck J. Cole for not
You were
teaching
offensive to
that guy
capitalism.
anything.
Boo. Yeah.
My friend,
Fuck J. Cole.
Fuck your ping hat. Boo.
Oh,
Actually, no.
Listen,
Actually, no. That's a sick hat. I take that one back.
Thank you. A Zoomer
I take that one
complimented
back.
it. A Zoomer complimented it on Friday at a Jane Remover concert.
Why was the Zoomer there? Ironically,
Jane Remover, not Jane's Addiction.
oh, there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. No, that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking.
I thought it was Jane's Addiction. Yeah.
No. Jane Remover is like it's like
I know who Jane. I know who.
okay.
Electro punk pop. The
Oh
fuck
no,
is it?
she's great. She's like
I've heard it. I was just, what kind of genre is it?
I would say hyper pop shoegaze.
Hyper pop shooter. Okay, yeah, I wasn't too far off.
If you said those words to somebody in the Civil War, like you, a Union soldier would have put their fucking musket in their mouth. Like, yeah.
What are we fighting for?
It would have been your fault that like we're all running under the.
Yeah.
I would not be on this podcast right now.
Oh god. All right, I'll never say that again. Zach, what are some of the more of their time phrases that you can think of from the peak Vice era?
Phrase it? Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I really just wanted to talk about Electro Clash.
all right. So like when I was a kid, like when my dad left, his boyfriend and later husband, to sort of win me over, and this worked, was he gave me a bunch of his records because he was considerably younger than my dad and had been like a club kid in the late 70s. So he gave me, like punk stuff like the Buzzcocks, but he also gave me the Normal, and him and my dad gave me a lot of disco records. And the thing I always liked about Electroclash is it really was one of the sort of last times where in New York you would see, obviously it wasn't 50-50, but it was like you would see a mixed group of people, black, white, gay, straight, all at a party for the same thing, until just sort of hip hop took over everything. And it was certainly the last like hipster thing that we actually had anything resembling a mixed crowd. And
Dude,
it was,
I think you got like 2-3 great novels in you, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Can you recommend some Electro Clash?
well, it doesn't really hold I mean, I think musically it probably doesn't really hold up. I mean, Fisher
What the
Spooner
fuck was
had
the point of it?
Yeah, that's
It was
the
a
thing.
social thing. It was a social. It was
Novels aren't
partying.
about proving the point. It's about talking about some shit the way it was.
So
was-
Electro Clash is like the Vice of music genres in some ways.
in a lot of ways. I mean, because it really was just a social scene, and it was drugs, and it was people
Gotcha.
dressing fabulous, and I mean,
Not a
I think
community. you're saying.
there were a few. It was not community. It was a scene, and I think that there are certain songs that I think that hold up. And again, I think probably Fisher Spooner is probably one of the only ones that actually had like songs. But and I don't know whether that fed into Vice or Vice fed into that. It gets into like they were both so concurrent that it was there was yeah. And then, I mean, one could argue that the rock revolution, like the new rock revolution of, a lot of bands that I loved, but like whether it's Interpol, EAS, or the Strokes and stuff like that, there is a perfectly workable theory that being embraced by the music media was in the same way that punk was a way to sort of kill disco. People were like, oh, fuck this, black homosexual stuff. We got to bring back guitars. And
Despite the fact that guitars were on disco, but like that's not
right. Yes,
yeah, but we know
Right.
what you mean. We know what you mean.
Yeah, but I think that's a really good point too, because again, you get into these weird, like there's huge holes in any of these theories, because you can always say, well, what, like Nile Rodgers wasn't fucking an amazing rock musician? Like that's an insane thing to say, but
He likes pussy from what I know, so like, yeah.
yeah. So, sorry, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what I have to say about Electric Clash. And it's the same way that like the only Taylor Swift album that I can sort of stand is reputation, because it's trashy and sounds like it was done on a Casio. And to me, that's her Electroclash album. What's that?
It's got a Kendrick Lamar feature.
And it's got a Kendrick Lamar feature.
Many have called him. Many have called Kendrick Lamar an Electroclash revivalist.
Zach, what's your biggest what if from that whole era? Like, what if this band got more coverage? What if?
What if Jay-Z had what if Jay-Z had done like what he did with Linkin Park with an Electroclash fucking
yes,
band.
made them relevant.
But yeah, what album should that have been?
Oh, Jesus. I mean the thing is like to my ears, because I'm not great with, or I don't believe in a lot of these distinctions, to me, when someone argues there's this huge difference between, 99 Problems and like, UK late 80s stuff like Pop Will Eat Itself, which was just when people were super getting into samplers and guitar rock at the same time. Like, I don't hear a big difference between that. I mean, obviously one is much more popular than the other, but that's why I don't mind revivals. I don't mind, I'm a firm believer in traditions, and in everybody sort of working along these same lines. So when I think of like what ifs, I tend to go more in like, well, what if people had gotten more into the sort of early guitar rap hybrids in the late 80s instead of Nirvana, instead of things like that. Like, to me, that's an interesting future. If people had just, if the people hadn't decided, oh, these two things must be entirely separate, poptimism or rockism or this and the other thing. The utopia that I envision is this very brief period where everybody was using the fucking funky drummer beat, not just rappers, but everybody. Stone Roses were using it.
Okay, so like
that's interesting to me. So, and the Vice has nothing to do with that.
Area, and like I wasn't old enough for this at the time, but I've heard the stories about it. How like, DC in the '80s, like big punk area and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But they would split the cost with like go-go bands.
Yeah.
To fucking like it's like, yo, you guys play your first half, and then we'll play for our first half, and like we have the venue for that long.
And I think
so, like, you would get like a bunch of white kids from like the suburbs and shit being like, yo, what the fuck is this with all these Congo drums and shit?
And that's
and then
really
like the black kids who were like showing up early, it's like, yo, these white boys out of control, man. And then like eventually that would just merge into like a whole thing, and then you get bands like Bad Brains, like you get
totally. And I think that's that's one of the things that's like the sort of just tragedy of music and popular culture, where a lot of times the artists do come into these things with these kind of like utopian ideals that are very natural to them. They're like, well, yeah, of course we're gonna fucking play with go-go bands, but then the audience is just like, nope, we just want one or the other, and it's sorry.
You feel like that's like more of a nowadays thing, or like has that always been a thing?
Well, I think it's by 87 or 88, go-go bands weren't playing with hardcore bands.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you think that people coming into a craft with utopian ideals and then being met with reality kind of mirrors what we're talking about with Vice here a little bit in a way, especially in its later years?
I mean, that's assuming a lot of good faith on like the Vice people.
I mean, more so from like the people at the bottom, right?
Oh yeah, because I mean, I think that like, and I think that's. Yeah, because I mean, so many Vice writers, some of them were doing it for whatever reasons. But of course, I think a lot of you don't put in that many hours for $30,000 a year or less unless you actually believe in some sort of culture.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's just like, oh, I want to have some health insurance, and they're going to give it to me. So
sure,
I'm going to be here for as long as I have health insurance. And I'm going to go to the eye doctor as much as I can. I'm just going to get my fucking knees whacked with that stupid ass fucking mallet and see if they work. Like, yeah.
I think both those things can be true, though. I mean, I think that there is, I think maybe you go in with this sort of idealistic thing, and then you're like, well, fuck. Okay, now I have health insurance.
Right. And, you're making the best of it.
But I think that also goes back to even what we're saying about like why maybe people didn't just throw me a big fucking parade for the pitchfork thing, because people also want to believe that you don't join a union without you don't vote for a union to be started without believing that this is some sort of like move forward, and then when someone's just kind of like glibly shitting on that, that's not a good feeling.
Dude, I'll say this much, man. Without a union, a bunch of people, including me, would not have got severance.
Right. And that's a great,
and
great,
it's like,
great.
It's not like we all assumed that like we were going to keep our jobs and shit and this and because like even through the union, like I was union from like the moment I started Vice. Like I was full time starting about like 2016, and it took about like 6.5 years for me to get laid off.
Yeah,
and I still got severance, and I got a pay raise every fucking year.
And I think with
that would not happen. Vice would have like tried to decrease my pay if they could have.
But do you think that makes more sense for something like Vice, which was whatever was valued at whatever $20 trillion briefly? Yeah, fucking of course you start a union under those circumstances, as opposed to say something other company, whether it's Pitchfork or Bandcamp or things like that, where they're like, it already seemed pretty tense. I mean, media had already fallen off a cliff by the time that these unions started. And I want to be very clear. I am not saying, oh, they shouldn't have unionized. I'm just saying more like, yeah, you form a union to protect yourself. And also maybe you should understand that as soon as you do that, the clock starts ticking, because the oligarchs are going to be like, how badly do we need you guys?
So I will say, I think in some ways, and like you have a different perspective, so like you could tell me if I'm wrong or not in your eyes, but I think Vice devalued their workers a lot more than like a Pitchfork did.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very like, I think that's a really interesting point. I think that's probably contrary to the way a lot of people perceive it. Why do you think, like, what do you mean by that?
I think you can really put a monetary value on how much they.
If you looked at the money they were spending on the higher ups, even like recently, over like when they went bankrupt and they hadn't paid the last fucking layoff, like all the money they were deserving severance and shit, but they were taking like fucking 5-6 figure bonuses out of that shit. Yeah, it's like.
Oh wait, are you saying Vice value?
It doesn't matter if it's the old punks from the Lower East Side or if it's like the Park Slope moms who are just like, oh no, we're fun, hey, but also you guys don't get snacks no more. It's like it's all the same bad people.
Oh, I think I misunderstood your point. Were you saying that Vice undervalued their employees more or valued their employees more? Undervalued. Oh, okay. I was like, wow, that's really some. This is contrary to the.
Okay. There was no point in the history of Vice where they value their employees.
Okay.
Who didn't have one of them fucking dinky ass little gold rings?
Okay. Like, no, I misunderstood. That scans. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I am declaring that we should transition into my favorite segment of the show, Joe Budden podcast style sleepers section. Zach, I should have prepared you for this.
Yeah, you should have prepared me. Wanted me to do me last. What is this? What do I need to think about?
Pick a song.
A sleeper song that you've been enjoying. It's a segment.
And no, you can't do the Bill Maher intro because two people are apparently doing it this week, me and Trey.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
No. There's not two people. It's one person.
Well, and it's me, buddy.
And it's me. Papa got to pick his own.
Thank you for opening YouTube this time, Joe.
I will go first since I have a real song. So there is this dude named Shabuzi. Have y'all heard of him?
No.
Wait, Shabuzi roll call?
Roll call? I don't know about that.
Roll call.
I know what.
Oh, you don't get the joke because you're a white guy. Okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
And also, the rest of y'all are white guys, so you don't get the joke either. So, like, okay.
I was clapping along, bro. What the fuck?
Okay. Slavic gets a joke.
Yeah.
Because Eastern Europeans are like the blacks of Europe.
We're BIPOCs, bro. We're
before
BIPOCs.
before you start
Black one, Bart. But yeah, okay.
I just want to say that Shabuzi is from Richmond, Virginia, and he is like a rapper who is also a country musician. And this song, Gas, that we are about to listen to, is like country drill. And he also...
I don't like that.
You're not selling me so far.
That,
Released 1 year ago with 500,000 views. Not great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe, expand this.
Also, he calls his crew the Bootcut Boys.
Oh. Okay, respect. This is good. Shabuzi, you say?
Shabuzi.
This isn't really drill.
No, like the drums.
No, it has London drums on it, but this isn't drill.
Hey,
that's a whole other episode that we don't have time to do right now. But like,
I'm with the Chevy like a Mazda.
This is good. No, this is cool though. Like, yeah,
I like it.
That fucking wife beat a little too tight on him. Like, it looks like it's cutting off his circulation. But
Drew, why did you pick this song? It's not even close to one of his favorites or most played. Which algorithm told you about this song?
No, I've known about him for a while. I think I
This is the song that spoke to Drew. Let him have it.
Yeah.
I think I told you about him.
Yeah.
I told you about him when you were in jail. I mentioned that he also has a song called Tall Boy that has a line. I'm not looking at my phone. The line is, "Girls taking off their tops. That's my type of content."
Nice.
Which is the most...
So who am I? Adam 22 shit, bro.
It might be the silliest line I've ever heard in a song I like. But except
that's a good sleeper. That's a good... I listened to that song and I'm gonna add it to my playlist of Joe Putton podcast style Nersey podcast sleepers.
Sleepers, okay.
Yeah, we do have to start making that a fucking updated playlist, don't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Who is responsible for Bundog Seeing Stars?
It's actually pronounced Boondog, and he is Pressa's brother. His whole thing is never showing his face. But like,
do I have to look up mine and like put it in the fucking chat?
No, you can tell me. I'll
just
type it in.
tell it.
No, I'm gonna do my work. It's fine.
It's on the dock.
You guys know who Pressa is, right? The most popular street rapper for Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah, we all live in Toronto. We all know about all the Toronto rap.
Well, this is Pressa's brother, because Pressa's trying to like be a pop star. Like all of his rap stuff is really mainstream, but then his brother will try to do like kind of like got like 40-ounce fan tweets sometimes, and he'll be like free game, like I don't know, just the stupidest shit that you can think of. But then like he also drops songs every once in a while, and this is one of them, and it's actually really good. But it sounds like Shabuzi.
Okay. I like that he doesn't show his face.
Purpose in life, it's a funny one. I do believe we are destined for great things.
Chain must be a bitch, he ain't even wearing the shit. Reach for my chain, we ain't gonna fight, you know that I'm airing the shit. You fell in love with a bitch? I make her run errands and shit. I'm in the yams and shit, walk in the club and they stare at
I like when they count Canadian money. Like it makes it more authentic.
It'd be really funny if they were holding big bags of coins of Canadian ones.
Like Donald Duck style.
Yes.
And that's Pressa and 50 Cent on his
I was
tour.
about to say, okay.
Pressa opened for 50 Cent on his whole Canadian tour. Yeah, that's more than enough.
Okay. Zach.
Because they're going to fuck off. Like,
By the way, Zach, you don't have to do a rap song.
No, Zach, tell me who's killing it in the.
Actually, no, Zach might be a nice little sorbet for because I have two I want to play with.
And that flow sounds like Future on My from Pluto 3D, which real heads will know all about.
You mean that fake ass mixtape that got like filled up with a bunch of throwaways, or
3D did get filled up with throwaways, yeah, but the one with like Turn On the Lights originally, that was a good one.
Yeah.
You're talking about Pluto 3D.
Yeah, Pluto 3D, he just put out Pluto again with more songs and like mixed the track. He put the track list on shuffle.
Yeah.
One of those songs was My, which was good. Trey, what do you got?
I know it's Zach's turn, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we also need Joe.
I'll go.
Mango Dog Gulf City.
Okay. All right.
This sounds really Canadian.
It sounds like if Nourished by Time were like super into Tom Waits. This is sick.
Hell yeah.
I like this a lot.
The visuals are just a guy cutting a pomegranate, but it's also a heart.
But it looks like a heart.
Also, is that the main singer of the band that we're listening to?
No, that's
Is
Prodigy.
that Mango Dog?
That's Prodigy.
No, that's Mango Dog.
That's Mango Dog?
Yeah.
He does look like Prodigy, though.
This is like, don't show Mac DeMarco this.
I like it. Yeah, his name's Mango Dog.
Yeah, it's good shit.
That's really good. I'm going to listen to this while driving home.
Yeah. That's sick.
Tight as hell.
Yeah, that's really good.
This is why this is behind a paywall.
Okay, I dropped my first one in chat.
Where?
This guy has 277 subscribers on YouTube, Joe. You are.
Yeah, how did you
savant.
find this guy?
Yeah.
This local kid rapper, Dennis Valentine. I was walking down the street one day and
No
he
way.
was playing Billy Woods off his phone, and I was just like, I stopped. I was like, oh, that's my friend. Like, that shit is cool. And he was like, oh, I'm such a big fan, blah, blah, blah. And he just lives nearby. So he started coming over to smoke and play me some of his music and stuff. And he told me about this dude. He saw him live and he was like, you gotta see this. You gotta hear this guy's music. I saw him live a few weeks ago. And when he played it for me, I was like, God, this is so fucking cool. So
Yo, that's
Yeah.
an amazing origin story. That's why people have to pay us $5 a month, literally because of shit like that. Because who else is gonna do shit like that?
No, the price is more than $5 a month. If you say it's $5 a month, people can say like, no, this only costs $5 a month, and then yeah.
All right. So here, for courtesy of Trey, we have the rising independent artist Gucci Mane.
No, it's a Big Walk Dog song.
Why is Gucci Mane's name first?
Because that's how you get views on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yep. His name is first to be uttered.
A big 1017 chain, nice. Oh, I like this guy. It looks like a
All right.
Oh. Yeah.
This is good.
Good voice.
Yeah. I feel like we've also accidentally pioneered a new form, which is the audio reaction video.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see what we're doing with our hands or face. But there's 5 guys that go, ooh. I think a big voice is the most important thing a rapper can have. Like a big deep voice.
Well, Big Walk Dog is apparently like 6'7", 6'8".
Oh, you
wow.
should have started with this, bro. What?
Yeah.
So he's literally
Before what you were gonna say about him, he could beat you up. Just letting you know.
No, I was gonna say he's cool. Now I'm gonna say he's cooler. That's
he is
awesome.
taller than everybody else.
That's it.
I wish
He's
he
not
was
making
playing
it.
ball. Like, so that seems like a bad decision on his part. But like, yeah. At least he's rapping now.
I mean, tall people don't have to play basketball. You know, maybe. Well, what if he's got
Goes into
asthma?
trades.
You know how many people got asthma who play ball? You know how easy it is to get an inhaler if you're a fucking millionaire?
Well, maybe he'll start playing basketball now. This rapper who we've decided is asthmatic, now he can get an inhaler.
The second one I'm gonna play because it's Black History Month. Let me drop this in the chat.
Go ahead.
They're doing like donuts in the fucking roast up.
Oh, I never heard this. When did this come out?
Like a couple years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, I was
Okay.
gone.
But I just saw like the fucking video for it the first time a couple months ago.
No, I'm good.
Slava just got up. All right, Zach.
Wait till they start doing donuts in the shit, okay?
Okay.
That's my favorite part of the video.
We have even further abstracted the reaction video. So now we're reacting to donuts. All right, that is very cool.
Yeah, that whip was like fucking hard as shit. Like, yeah. You can turn it off like after this. I don't care.
All right,
That's
Zach,
just like one of my favorite music video moments. Yeah. In a long
Well,
I don't care what Slava thinks about anything, so it's fine.
does this have to be new stuff or what, or just stuff I've been listening to, or what are the rules?
It's
just gotta
whatever
be
you
a
think
sleeper.
people don't know enough about, dude.
Well, I mean, one thing that I have been listening to was mastered by Joe, so I don't know, you guys already may have covered like the new the new Fatboy Sharif 10-minute song, the something about Shirley.
Oh, shout out to
yeah.
Bad Boy Sharif.
Yes.
Friend of the pod. Yeah.
But
Any particular minute?
no, you gotta do all 10 minutes. But
I don't care. Let's do all 10 minutes, man. I don't got nowhere to go. I'm at home.
Yeah, it's 7:20 where I am. So
I was also, because people are already doing the thing where they're like nostalgic for music of 10 years ago.
yeah,
Actually, just listen to this.
This is, I will say, not the weirdest thing I have mixed for Sharif yet. There's still unreleased music that's even weirder.
Great.
Well, this one actually, it weirdly gets, I feel like it gets more and more accessible as it goes on.
Sure.
Just because it's like, speaking of Jane's Addiction, it's like 3 days, it builds into the, if not quite galloping horse part, it gets a little bit more riffy,
Let's go into minute 7. See what we're working with there.
the 3 days in Jane's Addiction were Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Oh yeah, this is
See?
we're getting riffy.
Yeah. 3 lovers in 3 ways, baby.
Now we're getting more like
This is still better than Tyler the Creator to me, bro. This is what Tyler the Creator wishes he sounded like.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to argue with you on that.
I think they both have different goals, and they're accomplishing them both very well.
Tyler the Creator's not going to hear this, Joe. This is a Patreon episode.
I do feel like because of Joe's involvement, there's like a distinct chance of like randomly pissing off like someone in odd
That would be
future.
awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
But like Earl Sparks is like, yo, fuck Nersey, and like, yeah, fuck anybody who ever came from Vice, and yeah.
He's been here. He signed the poster. Earl.
Amazing.
If Vince Staples did it, it'd be devastating.
Yes.
I would ask him to sign it.
We'd have to cancel the podcast. Yeah.
Is that show worth watching? Has anyone
It's
watched that show?
incredible. It's incredible.
Abbott Elementary or the Vince Staples show?
The Vince Staples show. It's
I don't have Netflix, so yeah, because
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not paying $20 a month for that bullshit.
I watched it. It's really
got
good.
Suits.
I watched that Cora thing, Coraline.
Oh, it's really good, right?
Do any of you guys know the band Moonshake?
Yeah.
Beggars just reissued their first album.
Why did they do that?
I've been on. I have no idea, but I've been on a big kick of City Poison by Moonshake, and Tone Glow, the blog, actually just did like a 15,000 word interview with the dude. And I'm also really into like when older punk guys or post punk guys end up having to get like different jobs, and he now just writes about bird watching.
Oh my God.
That's his job. That's what he does for work.
And he's written a few books about bird watching, and the bio is great because it doesn't mention any of his bands. It just talks about bird watching.
So this guy
is he calling everybody he's worked with like a bunch of birds?
He is English, maybe.
So this guy's getting mad Jonathan Franzen fucking blurbs, is what you're saying.
I don't really compare anybody I like to Jonathan Franzen.
Yeah. Fractions is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this.
It's good.
No, turn it back up. Turn it back up.
And it's around the time when a lot of like English cats were really getting into Fugazi.
Oh, yep.
You know, which is funny because, you know, 10 years prior, they'd all be like, yeah, we're into reggae, we're into dub. And then in 89, they're like, we like Fugazi.
Yo, shout out DC area.
Yep. I like reading about
Yuri,
stuff that I don't necessarily... What's that?
I'm telling Yuri, turn his camera back on. Like, yeah, like what the fuck are you doing?
Yuri stepped out.
Oh, okay. All right. He's asleep. Okay.
I hope he's
I
not
can't
asleep.
really talk shit about that. Yeah.
I hope he's not asleep because I don't know how to lock his front door.
It's like this. Figure this.
Yeah, but you never know what kind of lock people are working with. Like
Clockwise, buddy. It's always clockwise.
No, not.
And if anything, you got a leg and a bunch of self-belief. So, like, yeah.
All right. This was a surprisingly good sleepers segment.
Yeah, Mango Dog, shout out to you. And then
Mango
the
Dog.
6'7" guy.
Yo, real quick, what is the best shoe to kick a door down with?
Air Force Ones, black, low tops.
No, steel tip.
No, those are terrible shoes. You don't get enough like force with them. Like they have too much compression.
Doesn't matter. You put those on, your head time's stronger.
No, it's
not really. It depends on the person.
Yes, it does.
Anything
Timberland does a really nice steel tip.
Do you think Graydon from Connecticut is getting stronger after putting an black Air Force?
Black one? Is it Dusty from working a service job for the last 6 hours?
No, I said it's Graydon from Connecticut.
Yeah, if he's working at a Wendy's for 6 hours before he found out
He's
his girlfriend
not.
was cheating on him. Yeah,
He did it off of lacrosse practice. He's 15 years old.
Zach, to answer your question, the Timberland.
Okay, so to not answer mine.
Aren't even nice, or are they're not?
As far as steel toe boots go, no, they're not even that great. They don't provide great coverage, and they're not like that cozy. There's a lot of like Red Wing boots is what you want for steel toes.
Okay, because I had one that were super, super cozy, and I just liked that they were zip up, so they sort of split the difference between like Beetle boots and actual work boots. But that may be the bubble that I operate in, you know?
I love how Slava gave the worst opinion, and now he's trying to dictate everybody else's opinion.
I'll bow to just about anyone else's opinion about shoes, since I don't really know how they
shoes
how
that
they
kick
work.
doors down.
Right. I have not kicked down many doors.
I'm going to say one more question for Zach, and then I need to go home. But Zach, speaking of shoes, I know you just said that, but which like subculture, mod, punk, goth, etc., has or had the best shoe part of their uniform?
I mean, mods for just like aesthetics, though, in terms of, and I say this as someone who's very much an appropriator of the culture. Aging skinheads, you know, like not when they're just like young thugs, but when they're getting into the jam and like dressing like that, you know, when they start sort of like going into mod culture, but not like driving mopeds, like they're still like hurting people for fun.
Are you talking about like when they get in the ska?
Yeah, or when they get back. Yeah, like aging skinhead, like
Okay.
like right. I would say that all around aging skinheads are the best dressers in the world.
But then, like, I'm not doing it like that, but it's like you're kind of doing it like that.
Yeah. Like skinheads at a funeral, and it's like there's really nothing better, you know, a wedding or a funeral, and they look amazing. So I gotta go. Do you need me to say anything?
Zach, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
It's you do like
your favorite J. Cole song.
Whatever your version of the Dutu Lutu is, you do that and sign out.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
This has been Nersey. I am Drew Pablo, joined as always by co-hosts.
I just want to point out how Zach saw how Slava was swinging a towel above his head, and he was like,
he got the fuck out of here.
He was like, I'm not participating in this. Yeah.
Yes. That's Slava, #1 incorrect doer of the PD Pablo dance, and Trey, who you can give yourself your own.
You can't just claim Spectrum on that. Like, come on.
#1 J. Cole fan, Trey Smith.
Yep.
I will kill everybody who's still in this window. So
bye, everybody.